The whole idea behind Toycember is to get to talk about a lot of the figures from my collection that I absolutely love, but I just can't get a full 15 or 20-minute video from. So, little micro reviews, right? And that gives me the opportunity to talk about my favorite Pokemon of them all, and specifically the Jazzwares figure that came out for him a couple years ago. If you aren't aware or haven't seen my socials, because I post it there all the time, Scyther's been my favorite Pokemon since I first laid eyes on him. Like, he is a green ninja mantis made of blades. You don't really get much better than that for me. Many Pokemon have tried and failed to take his crown. He is forever my favorite. And guess what? He gets figures very, very rarely. In fact, the last time he had anything approaching being called an action figure, you get a toy that ended up being so rare that a sealed one in a completely demolished box still went for well over $600, well beyond what I could afford. So I lament not having a complete one. Mine is missing its wings, but this one's brand new, so of course we get to talk about it. So this is from their battle feature line, where there's like little attack features, which means he's not a static figurine like a lot of Pokemon figures tend to be. He actually does a few things, little gimmicky tricks. But we'll start with a close-up of him so you can get a good look at his expression. It's done very well to match his anime appearance. You can see the teeth have been painted, so has the inside of the mouth. The mouth does not open, but you can see it's just open enough to like get the idea. Scyther's typically depicted with his mouth open just a little bit. He's cast in the green plastic for the most part. The wings are cast in the pale yellow, and they are quite a bit more flexible, just in case you end up dropping the figure or banging it around. That should prevent them from breaking. The scythe blades are also a little bit softer for the same reasoning. Now, the packaging on this guy is not great. You can see that blade is a little bit warped. The other blade came out okay, but it's tricky to find these that are packaged correctly to the point where like all the wings and blades are unwarped. So be ready with a hairdryer just to make any kind of fixes you need. Beyond that, he does have the pale yellow painted onto the body, as well as a little bit of white there for not only the blades, but the little claws as well. He looks very, very good. Like, proportion-wise and detail-wise, like, he is spot on what Scyther should look like, making me very, very happy. Now, as far as features go, articulation-wise, his legs move back and forth, so he can do little steppies, but that's about it. And because his feet are kind of sculpted to be at this angle, never mind the fact that they don't stay at that angle on mine, it does mean that getting him into any kind of like unique pose, you usually have to tripod him on one of his blades he does have a ball joint in the neck, so he can get a little bit more out. But again, nothing I would call an action figure, just he happens to be a figurine with some extra points of articulation. Now, the big thing for him is, since he has an action feature gimmick, is to look on the back where you see a little trigger between the wings. And if I actually push down on said trigger, his sights start going up and down, which is a neat, pretty simple little action feature, very appropriate for the Mantis. Now, there's no way to really adjust that. So a lot of times, you could typically adjust the position on the shoulders. In fact, the stock artwork and photography for this toy, some of those actually do show the arms in a much more both down neutral position kind of pose. You can't actually do that. It isn't geared the way that a lot of toys like that are, so that you can still pose the shoulders. It's stuck in this position, so you can't try to force it to get both arms down into a more natural position. You just kind of have to stick with this. But of course, it's supposed to be a kid's action gimmick, so no big surprise there. It's not meant to be an action figure. It's just meant to be, a toy. It's a figure of Scyther that happens to move a little bit and happens to have a little choppy feature. Beyond that, yeah, he's basically, as simple as it seems, but, it's a Scyther. You know, as a Scyther on your shelf, he looks beautiful. He's a lot bigger than the standard, like, what, 2-3-inch Scyther figurines that Tomy used to release. And he's just nice. He's just very, very nice. So they released this guy a couple years ago. I did manage to... I paid out the nose to get one on Amazon ASAP. And my buddy Edgar managed to find a few at Ross on like $5 clearance. And like anytime someone finds these on $5 clearance, I'll buy the whole swarm you find. I may or may not own 8 of these in package. And one of them is in brand new packaging that I just saw at Target like a month ago. So he's getting another run right now. So if you're a Scyther fan, yeah, like he's just going to be a nice desktop piece with a little bit of fiddle gimmick. Don't expect an action figure. Don't expect like the tiny little like static figurine they used to do. He's somewhere in the middle. And you know what? It's a lot more than Scyther normally gets.
Analysis complete. Adapting translators to local language.
Are you out there?